All right, so good afternoon. My name's Caleb Boryak. Um, I am in the United States Navy Reserve. This is my buddy, one of my best friends, Josh
Yeah.
Furr. He was in the United States Army active duty. He's an Afghanistan vet. We are doing our interview in his living room couch, just
Yeah.
casual and candid. So let's start from the beginning. All right, Josh, so why don't you tell us about yourself?
I was in the United States Army. My name is Joshua Furr. Um, I was deployed to Jalalabad, Afghanistan, and I did 4 years in the Army. And we went to I went to basic training at Fort Benning,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, at Fort Fort Gordon for 6 months after basic training.
Well, you said your MOS was infantry.
94 Fox Special Electronics Repair. So I fixed night vision goggles.
So you were one of the tech guys that was attached to infantry, and that's why you went to
Yeah.
Benning.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that's what your AIT was for learning how to repair the nods,
Yeah.
night vision goggles for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
So, what year did you deploy?
I deployed in 2011 through 2012. I actually landed in Jalalabad, Afghanistan on my birthday. So that's
Jeez. So right before you deployed,
yeah,
like
October 6th, 2011.
wow.
Yeah.
So what was that? OIF?
That was, Operation Enduring Freedom.
Oh, EF, yeah.
I think Operation Enduring Freedom 13.
So before you deployed, did they do a bunch of briefings on what to expect when you get there and?
We had to go through some online trainings and stuff to go over what interactions with the people would be like, what their culture's like, stuff like that, so we don't offend them. And they were trying to win the hearts and minds of the people of Afghanistan, and they were giving out chickens and stuff like that to local farmers, and they had these programs and stuff to try to keep people from being influenced by the terrorists, which terrorists prey on both local citizens as well as killing soldiers. So I feel bad for these people that are dealing with Hamas and Israel, because Hamas basically kills the Palestinians and they kill Israelis.
Right.
So that's what terrorists do.
What was going through your head before you left?
Well, this is a nice birthday present. And I was thinking, am I gonna get killed when I'm going over here? So I pulled a lot of security. I was on the wall, and I was always in, there was always the potential that I could get blown up by a suicide bomber, because they could drive up to the wall with a VBED, which is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device.
Yep, car bomb.
Yeah. And so I was always worried, that something would happen. And then we had to worry about the locals that they hired too, because we had locals that worked with us while we were on Tower Guard, that they paid $300 a month to do security for the local security forces. And you never know if one of them was, an insider and was going to slit your throat if you fell asleep. So it was pretty stressful.
So you got a lot of tension coming to the front, and you don't even trust the people at your back either.
Yeah.
So that kind of stacks up on you.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, so what was your thoughts when you got there, as opposed to what you were thinking about?
Well, I mean, I was ready to die for my country, so it wasn't like I was afraid. But it was always in the back of my mind that I could die. And then, we got mortar strike a bunch of times, and I was only on a 4-mile radius base, because it was an airstrip, and you could see, the airstrip was about 2 miles long.
So they would just constantly hammer it.
Yeah, they would mortar it, and what they would do what I was told by a pilot was they would put mortars in ice blocks, and then they would put the ice blocks on top of the mortar, and then it would melt and the mortar would go off, and they wouldn't be anywhere near it when the mortars would go off.
To prevent from counter-strike from artillery?
From helicopters, you know. So, because I was on a helicopter base. So, I mean, we had C-130s come in, and they brought supplies and stuff like that. But mostly, my base ran Apaches and Kiowas, which were like the smaller version of an Apache. It had, you know, missiles on it, and they could load Hellfire missiles and stuff like that. But yeah, I was attached to I was in the 117th Cavalry at Fort Bragg, where I was stationed, and the 117th Cavalry was had a motor pool attachment to it, which the motor pool was used to kept all the trucks running and stuff that fueled the helicopters, so the fuel trucks. And I was attached to that motor pool unit for the night vision goggles, but we were attached to a helicopter unit which supported the infantry in the area in and around Jalalabad.
Which is why you mostly stayed on the FOB as opposed to going out and do patrols. And which is why they put you on a lot of the security on the wall, because you're auxiliary personnel when you weren't fixing nods.
Yeah, well, the knot didn't face as much danger as, you know, the guys going outside the wall. And,
on the contrary.
Yeah. But, I mean, they blew up our front gate, you know, one time. It killed 15 Afghan, like, locals, which were the security guys.
And your guys?
They injured 2 soldiers that were inside of the truck, but they went through medical and they came out fine.
That's good.
But yeah, then another time, it was a base that was about a mile away. They attacked that base with a V-bed, and they blew a hole in the wall, and they went inside the base, and it was like, you know, it was complete chaos, and like they were, you know, shooting at them and stuff like that. And yeah, I saw the video of that, and that was like pretty crazy. So.
And how long did you spend over there?
I spent 12 months. So I think I landed September 11, 2012.
So a whole year of consistently being shelled, people trying to test the gate, and you know, the uncertainty of the people you're working with too.
Yeah.
Because you can't trust locals.
Yep. I mean, you feel bad for them because it's like, you know, they're not all Afghans are bad, but like you're in their country, and you know, they don't really want you there, and the terrorists would come in from Pakistan. They would come over the border because it was only about 50 miles from the border to Pakistan and Jalalabad.
Short hike.
You know, they'll pay some poor farmer boy $5 to shoot an American soldier, and then, you know, we kill that kid, and then he's, you know, his family is, you know, they're now terrorists, so we just convert them. So it's like, it really, nobody was winning. So it just
endless blood.
Yeah.
What was it like when you finally were leaving out of there when you got home?
I guess relief, you know. I still had a lot of stress, and it took me a long time to really get over it and like accept, you know, just like in the past few years, got treatment for PTSD because it was very stressful, and I had a mental breakdown while I was there in Afghanistan, you know, and yeah, it's definitely like a lot of memories come flooding back, and that's why I just try not to think about it, and I try to avoid talking about it and stuff like that. So
I appreciate you talking about it today. I know it's not easy. So thank you for that. This has been a pretty solid interview, I think.
Yeah.
And no, I appreciate what you did, Josh, and I might not have deployed yet, but I'll probably be up there with you at some point.